the idea is that we are as strong as they come in any situation, and we're dismantling all of those myths because we're saying that we want to be airy fairy princesses just living our best lives. To chat to us this afternoon, Devan Moonsamy is our mental health counsellor discussing the cost of being too strong as women. Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon to you and the listeners as well.
So what comes to mind for you when you hear Wathint Abafazi, Wathint Imbokodo?
I think that it's an overburden on some women in modern day context. And I think, in my mind, it suggests that it was a group of very strong women that marched almost 70 years ago. And it doesn't necessarily apply to every woman in the same context in the same way now. So that's what strikes me initially.
So what does it mean now? What does strength look like? I mean, we were even talking about it and how it represents. And I'm so glad that we're speaking to someone who is someone like of color, but not necessarily black, because I think we attach the strength to just black people. But, it's across the board. We expect women to fulfill so many different roles.
And it is the truth. I mean, some would have a full-time job. Then you'd get home. You'd probably manage the household. You'd probably be preparing meals for a few different people. They could be an ailing parent. They could be a relative who wants school fees paid for their child because they just can't afford it, and you've got the great corporate job. And you're strong enough. You should do it. You're the one. You're a rock. And that's how we all view you. And you're not allowed to crack under the pressure. You're not even allowed to admit that you may have a little bit of depression now and again. You may be feeling a little bit anxious now and again. You can't say that, especially if you have some teenagers who are looking up to you as a support system and essentially as a rock that just can't break. So this unfortunately, for many women, this is where they find themselves. Is I've got to put this very thick, rough mask exterior on, and sometimes they're even challenged in the work environment because you're so strong, you fix this. You carry these 10 parcels or these 10 bags, these grocery bags. I'm not going to help you with anything because you wanted this in the first place because you're a strong, liberated woman. And this does not resonate with me at all from a mental health perspective.
What are some of the social consequences when it comes to us not wanting to, to be this way or being seen this way? Because I think especially the younger generation, even my generation, yes, we were raised by really incredible, strong women, and some of it was passed down, but I think we're moving into a really fun age now where nobody actually cares about that. We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, historically, I mean, if we look at the last decade or two, we were looking at women breaking that mold. They're wanting so many, so many different areas in their lives to be almost equal in all senses of the word, which is completely fine. So it defined them. It redefined them, so to speak. We can now call them breadwinners, caregivers, mothers, daughters, and employees and wives. But the problem with all of this is that it puts a lot of pressure, and the fun that you're referring to. Sorry, that's my daughter just too. Another strong little girl.
Let her sing, child.
And if you, hello, baby. And if you try, and look at the fun aspect of being a woman, some of those titles that I just mentioned now, it takes the fun completely away. Some women still want to have their groceries carried. Some women would like somebody to share the responsibility to fix certain things that are going wrong. Why should it have to be a woman's responsibility? And, if it were Men's Month, we could have also focused on that. But sometimes even men want that type of relief.
Sure.
So it's not just women who are immune to, should be. But I think in this case, because we're talking about it and it must be in the spotlight, we have to start being more cognizant and mindful that, no, there shouldn't be all of these roles. They should, like you say, the fun needs to be put back into being a woman. And being a person, really.
So how do we move past the mental health aspect of it? Because there is a lot of scrutiny from the women who still believe in being strong. It's almost like what we're doing now is kind of losing our femininity, which really is the opposite of that. So how do we move past the mental health aspect of it, not really getting the criticism that, the society is giving us?
I'm going to challenge not the woman to do something about it, but I want to challenge the men and the other support structures, the corporates, the men, the strong men around us, and also the teenage children, those ones who are going into adulthood now. I want to challenge them to start having more open, real conversations with whether the woman in our lives actually coping and whether we're going to have an honest conversation, a very loving, caring one, about how can I help? Is there something in terms of chores? Is there something I could do by way of money? Can I lessen the load? Because remember, they marched all those years ago to break away from a construct that was not necessarily their own. They were not the ones who implemented the system in the first place. They were just saying, we rocks, you strike us, we're standing up to this. So why then should it now be the responsibility of these same women, of these women who sort of redefined everything all these years later, to still stand up? We're not living 77 decades ago. We're now living in a very different era. So strong men with big voices need to now start asking questions in the corporate spaces, in the household, and redefining what our women should be and what their roles and responsibilities should be. And there shouldn't be a level or layer of shame attached to any woman or man, for that matter, asking for help when they're sinking. Because this, in my experience, is where a mental breakdown starts to occur, where people start to become anxious, where people start to become panicked, because you're just not open enough, because I can't break the facade. I'm just not open enough to say I'm not coping. I can't cook, clean, make a bottle, and, there you just heard my 2-year-old. And as a man, it's very difficult sometimes, to be able to cope with all of these pressures. Now imagine a woman in that instance with so many pressures and still nobody to ask, to reach out to and ask for help. I think that's very unfair.
Devan Moonsamy, thank you so much for joining us on The Upside right here on Channel Africa. Where can we find you if we need to get a hold of you?
Oh, they're welcome to find me online, devanmoonsamy.com. That is my website, or ichaftraining.co.za, or even just email me at devan@ichaftraining.co.za if they need any mental health tips.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.